begin, though, with the Black Panthers. The documentary that aired recently on public television didn't spend much time on the 40-plus local chapters that existed during the 1960s and 70s. One was right here in Milwaukee. Everett Marshburn has that story.
The Second Amendment guarantees the citizen a right to bear arms on public property.
We're going to carry our guns and we're going to follow the police. We're going to maintain a legal distance, ready to throw down if necessary.
We think of the Black Panther Party as this ultra-radical organization, and they definitely had an element of that when you're picking up the gun and talking about offing the pig. That's very radical. However, when you spend the vast majority of your energies on breakfast for children programs, on busing the prison programs, on a free medical clinic, well, how revolutionary are you? Or are you just a community service organization that, yes, we picked up the gun because we want to defend ourselves, because that's also a community service.
Historian Andrew Witt details the Milwaukee Black Panther Party and the Black Panthers in the Midwest. It's a history that Walter Chesser, who owns Milltown Apparel and Printing, helped to create. In the fall of 1968, he and two friends talked about creating a Black Panther Party in Milwaukee. Chesser called the main headquarters in Oakland, and Bobby Seale invited him to visit.
Stayed there for a couple of weeks, got exposed firsthand to the things that they were doing, the free breakfast program for children. They were actually doing some tutoring and still doing their nightly patrols in the neighborhood. And so I participated in all of those activities. And after a couple of weeks, Bobby stated, well, you see what we're doing here, and asked if that was something that I was committed to doing, and I said that I was, and he authorized me to charter a Black Panther Party in Milwaukee. And so returned to Milwaukee the latter part of December and began to organize the Panther Party. We started the free breakfast program, and that was a big part of the initial activity because it was something concrete to do and to show people what we were doing. And so that was really the focus of the party for several months to get a successful free breakfast program for children. We started a study group. Many people were like myself who had no previous experience of doing any type of social activity, being involved in the struggle in any aspect. And so we started up a tutoring session to make people aware of what was going on, to actually raise our level of consciousness.
The FBI wanted to destroy the Panthers.
How about justice? Justice is incidental to law and order.
This was all-out attack on the Black Panther Party. Every significant office is going to be raided, bombed, shot, mass arrests.
Milwaukee's police chief, Harold Breyer, was no fan of the Black Panther Party either.
There is this long history of animus between the overwhelmingly white Milwaukee PD and the black community. And this manifested itself in many different ways, just in general harassment, in assaults on the black community by the police. But then there's of course throughout the historical record in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, so forth, there's murder of black people, out and out murder.
That racism that existed in the police department, I think, was fully tolerated. And it had, I think, a profound effect on at least on me. I never felt secure as a black man in Milwaukee as long as Chief Breyer was chief. And when he finally left the force, I actually felt at least a psychological burden being released because I just never felt that he had any good intentions towards the African-American community.
You didn't stay in the party long. What happened?
Fred Hampton, who was actually, I believe, is the deputy defense minister for the Panther Party in Chicago, and it was also the regional authority for the Midwest, came to our location. At that time, I think we had moved from Atkinson over to a single-family property on North 1st Street. I'm not quite sure at this time. I can't remember exactly where it was. But came into the chapter at that time, at our location at that time. It stated that we were not a legitimate Panther Party. accused me of being a counter-revolutionary. And within 5 minutes, I was put in house arrest. I was taken to the basement. And for 36 hours, I was held in the basement before I decided that I would escape that confinement. When I left my confinement, returned home, within a half an hour, I had gotten a call from the FBI. They were aware that I was being held and that I, in fact, had left, and had informed me that there was a contract to kill me, and that they wanted me to accept their protection and actually go back into the Panther Party and form for them. That essentially ended my participation in the Panther Party. It was a very strange situation, but as time went on, I began to understand that was really a part of the disinformation by law enforcement in the city.
Before the end of 1969, Milwaukee's Black Panther Party had been eliminated, but Walter Chesser continued to work for his community.
Within a year's time after that, I actually started up the Black Masters Party, and we continued to do the kind of things that the Panther Party was doing. We started a free breakfast program, and we were very successful with that program, and so successful as the fact that the SDC, I think it was called the Social Development Commission at the time, asked for our participation in starting a free breakfast program for the city of Milwaukee, and subsequently that's what in fact happened.
In 1973, another Milwaukee chapter of the Black Panther Party came into existence. It lasted a couple of years, yet the legacy continues into today.
So frequently, we take the Black Panther Party and we say, oh, that was a completely out there organization. Well, no, they weren't. They fall in the long line of African Americans who have picked up the gun and defended themselves and defended their communities and provided for their communities.
There is more to hear from Andrew Witt and Walter Chesser. Their extended interviews can be found on the Black Nouveau page at www.mptv.org.